Hey guys, welcome to Up the Coast with Alex and Britt. We are officially on episode 7 of the 2026 ACC softball season. Britt, it has been a whirlwind. I feel like we're just about halfway through so far.
We are almost halfway through, but it feels like a long time. Like usually I feel like at the end of the season, it's like, wow, we got here so fast. But now I'm like, we're only 2 weeks into conference play for most teams. Like I feel like we played a lot of softball, but I'm sure in about 3 weeks, like where'd the time go?
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause the ACC tournament will be here before we know it. I feel like, 4 or 5 weeks and it'll be on us. The ACC fared pretty well this weekend, kind of in that part now where they're beating each other up. Virginia Tech went 2-2. They lost to Duke, won against Elon. They also beat Duke once. Florida State was 4-0 this past week. They played Syracuse in a series and then beat Alabama in a midweek. You got to call that game.
South Alabama.
South Alabama. You got to call that game. That was a lot of fun. Virginia was 3-1 on the weekend. They won against Georgia Tech, also against Hampton. Stanford 1-2. They won against Notre Dame. And then Clemson was also 3-1. They beat Louisville twice and Winthrop once. Louisville, interesting. We'll talk about that series, of course. And then North Carolina was 2-1. They did beat Cal twice and then dropped another game. So kind of in what we would call like that first few weeks now of ACC play, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times. I think we should talk a little bit about what it's like to play a series against a team as opposed to just like regular tournament play.
Yeah, I think right now, first couple of weeks of conference, as much as we see pitching by committee coming into conference play and across the country, like you have to do it, but how do you do it against the same team 3 times? I think coaches are still trying to figure out what does Sunday look like, or who do we save for that Sunday game? What are we doing game 2? Are we going to throw our ace Friday against their ace? Like there's a lot of chess pieces going on right now. And I think after a couple of weeks, you kind of get into what works best for your team. And I think some teams right now are still trying to figure that out. But that's happening everywhere. But that's what makes this so much fun. And I think there's some teams that are realizing that they're missing a couple pieces to go 3 games against some teams. And then some other teams that are not utilizing the pieces how they should. But, that's why we play the game.
Yeah. And the important part is, the conference series are so important. It is really hard to beat a team 3 times because of depth. At that point, it is like just playing chess or a chess match in regard to like who's deeper, who's going to be better. And that's ultimately what decides a series like that. But as you look ahead to postseason, conference tournaments are typically like you're playing different teams all week. And then you go into a regional. Sometimes you've got to be able to beat a team twice, but you don't have to necessarily play them back to back. If you're in the winner's bracket, you may, all the things. But the importance of series and learning how to best manage your teams is because in super regionals, you're playing the same team a best of 3 series. And so, it's just really taking care of the ball and trying to do what you can to figure out different ways to win. So.
Yeah, I look at these series and super regionals keeps popping in my head. I'm like, oh, this team can definitely beat X, Y, and Z team. But what's that Sunday look like? I mean, they're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at them to try and get by. I think that's a great point to make, that if you want to make it OKC, you've got to find a way to win 2 out of 3.
Yeah, manufacturing runs in a lot of different ways. It's going to be huge. In today's episode, we'll talk about whether or not we think Duke is back on track, any concerns we think may exist right now for Virginia Tech, are things quieting down as a whole in the state of Virginia because they've been a hot topic, what's going on with Stanford? We'll see. That's an interesting one. How do we feel about Clemson, UNC, Florida State, and of course, some stuff about Georgia Tech and just where these teams are at. Let's first get into, I think, our Blue Devils and how we think they fared this week.
Well, I want to give you a shout out. You called it last week. You said Duke was going to take 2 out of 3, even though that wasn't the popular opinion. Duke had fallen out of a couple polls. Virginia Tech was top 10, and you stuck with your gut and you got it right. That was nice. Duke took 2 out of 3.
Yeah, it was fun, and that's the people factor, right? Like on paper, a team, yes, can be favored to win because they do X, Y, and Z right, but you got to put in there just like the competitiveness of some of these players, the chip on their shoulder. Like, I'm sorry, there was no doubt in my mind that like Cassidy Curd wasn't going to go into the game a little extra fired up, right? Something to prove. And then, of course, you got Vega, you've got Jennings. Not that anybody wants to lose, but they want to win, I think, a little bit more just to kind of prove, right? Prove to themselves, prove to other people.
Yeah, they set the bar so high in that program from the very beginning. Like, this would be if they got a national seed, it'd be the 5th year in a row to get a national seed, and they've been around for 9 years. So that's what they're striving for. But yeah, Duke took 2 out of 3. They came out first 2 games and scored 4 runs in the first inning in back-to-back games. And I think that's kind of the MO for Duke, is they want to get off to a hard start, and it's really important for them too. With Jennings and Vega and Jones and Lamar all up there at the top of that lineup, they really set the tone. And scoring 4 runs in the first inning, Jones hit the grand slam in game 1 and game 2. They kind of manufactured some runs and really hit the pitchers hard. I really like how they start, but they really slow down as the game goes on. Like, it's not that constant beratement of pitchers and offense pressure, but they certainly come out swinging. I would like to see that more consistently through the lineup, even when Deanna Jones isn't leading off the inning. I think she's a great table setter, but we've got to find a way to keep that more consistent. I thought with Virginia Tech, and their walks were a problem in game 1. The body language of Emma Mazzarone in the circle, in those games that didn't go well, was really off to me. She didn't get a call from the umpire. That was a close call. And then after that, it just seemed like everything kind of deflated. And you can tell that she definitely pitches with emotion too, because they had the radar gun up there. And after like a coach would come out and talk to her, and you could tell that she was a little pissed off, she would throw the ball about 2-3 miles per hour harder. So I think we talk about Duke's offensive consistency throughout a game, that her mental and emotional consistency throughout a game could definitely use some work.
Yeah. Interesting too, right? Like how athletes in general start responding when things aren't necessarily going their way. And I think right now too is a time where you start to have like the roller coaster of a season. Like, players that started really hot, you're going to have a little bit of a cold part to your season. And a lot of times it's mid-season, and that's where we are. And so you're trying to ride the roller coaster, not get too high or too low. But talking about pitching too on the side of Duke, I love to see other pitchers stepping up, because Cassidy Curd, like, we know what she's capable of. Like, she's been really good. She's been trying to find that consistency. But for the combined game between Curd, Wheeler, and Hawkes, I think is great, because we've been wondering about the depth, right? And so I'm just really glad to see them win a game with not just Curd in the circle, and a big game at that, right? So that was a big relief to me. And then even going back to their midweek against South Carolina, they were able to, that was huge too, right? Like, a really good week for Duke overall. Amina Vega was fantastic in the midweek. She was 3 for 3. She was a home run shy of the cycle, so had a double, a single, and a triple. Don't know why I said it in that order, but whatever. I love doubles, I guess. And then just Vega did struggle, though, a little bit. I think even though she had such a successful time in the midweek, she struggled on the shift. And that was an interesting note that you had mentioned, too, with how defenses were starting to approach her, trying to make adjustments.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see moving forward, because Virginia put one infielder on the left side with the lefty Vega up to bat, and she definitely did struggle. I don't know if it was a mental thing, or maybe she just had a game off, but with the defense being different and then not seeing her perform as well as she usually does, then it definitely makes you think that, hey, she was either trying too hard to beat the shift, or she had that extra pressure. There's an extra infielder on this side of the field. But to me, I was like, just bunt, Vega. You have all this space and all this room, just bunt. But didn't see that try and happen. So it'll be interesting to see if teams take that playbook out of what Virginia Tech did to try and quiet her down, because she's such a big piece to that offense. But that was interesting to see. I hadn't seen that this year. Good work by Pete DeMore and that staff to try and, you have a couple names circled on the lineup card, and they did a good job with that one.
Yeah, and then still on Virginia Tech, they did out-hit Duke in both of the first 2 games. So Duke obviously got the win in games 1 and 2, but Virginia Tech out-hit them. And it was just like the timeliness, I think. You did say, too, Virginia Tech struggled with the walks early and just trying to figure those out. And, you can't have your defense defending walks. There's nothing they can do to help you out there. So Michelle Chatfield, Gabby Mizell, Zoe Yeager, they're really good right now for the Hokies offense, and they've been swinging a really good bat. But yeah, just got to tighten up a little bit on the walks and the free passes.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be concerned about with Virginia Tech, even after losing this series. This is a good Duke team. I think we mentioned their travel and the teams they played and doubleheaders against top 10 teams at the beginning of the season. I think they were worn down. I honestly do. I think that fatigue was a factor, and you don't want excuses but you have to look at the reality of the situation. And I think for them to take that red eye back from Cal, get home on Monday, go down to South Carolina on Tuesday and get the win there was really big and showed a lot from them. But I think Virginia Tech is just fine. I'm just as high on them as I was before. And I think I'm a little bit more confident in Duke after seeing what they did in that series.
Yeah. Let's move on to the other Virginia team. So UVA had a series against Georgia Tech. They had a midweek against Hampton. Taylor Smith had a career-high 7 strikeouts in that midweek game. Really good stuff from her. And then against Georgia Tech, this is a good Georgia Tech team that we feel like a lot of the time is right there. So for UVA to take the series, really good stuff. It was the 3rd time in the last 5 games that UVA has gone into extra innings, which I feel like is pretty tough. Like putting your back against the wall early.
Yeah, and it shows a lot of guts, too, to be able to pull those off. You don't want to be in those extra inning games. You don't want to have to put your pitchers in those situations to throw more than they have to, because we know that it's not a pitcher's game anymore. So more at bats is not a good thing off of your pitchers. But UVA just finds a way. And I think you look at their senior class and that veteran leadership that they have. They're all Virginia girls, and I think they have something to prove this year. And it's not easy for Virginia. Like every game they play is, like you said, is a close one, and they find a way to win. I think their depth, you mentioned it, like it's just not the superstars for Virginia coming through. So, and you mentioned it before earlier in this year, is like they're a 1 through 9 team. It's just not the 1 and 2 and a Eden Bingham show anymore.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun just to see how this team has progressed and continued to get better. And Coach Harden had talked about, like in the past, we're right there. We're within 1 swing. Our goal is to get, the tying hitter. If we're behind in a game, it's to get the tying hitter and at bat and give us a chance to win the game. And then this past weekend, it was about a short-term memory, because those close games are so tough, and they're emotional, and they're taxing physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things. And you've got to have a short memory. You've got to appreciate it. When you win, you got to revel in it for a little bit, but then you got to move on. You got to look ahead. And the same goes with losing, because you can't live in that state of mind for too long, whether it's good or bad. So just kind of a reminder for the importance of that as well.
Yeah, and we saw them do that after getting crushed by Arkansas first game of the year and then come back and beat them. And I think a lot of people were kind of cooled down on Virginia after the UNC series and how that went, even though they won the series. But I think it proved to me they can win a low-scoring, close game, but they can also win a home run derby kind of game. So they have different ways to win and play different style of the game, which I thought was really cool. And I think they're just a versatile, deep, smart, gritty team. And then for Georgia Tech, for me, you mentioned it, they are so close. They keep stealing one. They swept the series against Notre Dame, but then they take one for Clemson, they take one here from Virginia, and then in their midweek against Georgia, they had the lead. And it feels like there's always just this one play that should be made. Against Georgia, they had the lead, and then it was a tough play in the outfield, but they had the ball, and then they dropped it. And Georgia was able to build off that, score a couple runs, take the lead. And it's just that one play that you're you can always point to where it changed. Yeah. But they're a good team, and that they're so close.
So close, yeah. And then going back to even game 2, it was 10 innings long. Each team had 14 hits, so swinging the bat really well right now. A couple of errors, like you said, just whether it was Georgia Tech in that midweek against Georgia or it was Virginia, just a couple of costly errors that, you're saying, really makes an opponent. It's not a game-changing play, because no one play really changes the game, but it's a momentum shifter and tough, right? So Virginia suffered a little bit with that, but one of the things I loved was through 10 innings of work for both teams, they combined for less than 10 walks. So these pitchers were just on it. They were minimal free passes, going right at the hitters, really making them earn it, which is also why you see 14 hits on both sides. But it's good stuff to me. I'd rather they have to earn their way on base with a hit than giving it up with a walk.
For sure. You're not giving anything away from free. You're making teams earn it. And I love that. We don't see that very much.
Yeah, a couple of big swings too. Macy Eaton, Cassidy Hudson, Reagan Hickey, Alex Call, again, all coming through clutch for Virginia. Eden Bingham got a complete game, which was good to see her coming through. Somebody that struggled a little bit too, just trying to navigate, where are we, injury, all the things, right? Figuring it out.
Yeah, and you name the Cassidy Hudson, Reagan Hickey, Alex Call. Those aren't names that you necessarily associate with Virginia unless you like
Yep.
watch them every day. So
Yeah.
up and
It's
down.
normally Jade Hilton and whatever else, right? Like those are the big players. So good versatility there. Love to see it. Want to see these teams continue that good streak of just momentum and playing good quality softball. So Stanford.
Talk about
lost.
Momentum in the opposite direction.
Or a lack of, right now, unfortunately. Notre Dame took the series. Huge win for the Irish.
Yes, congratulations.
But on paper, one of those things where you're like, shouldn't happen. Like, I'm sorry, it shouldn't happen. Well, it was tough. Notre Dame won 7-2, or I'm sorry, Stanford won 7-2 and then lost 8-4. Just brutal, like brutal if you're a fan.
And it's self-inflicted wounds. 20 walks, 4 hit by pitches, just 11 Ks when Zoe Pristaico was averaging 11 strikeouts a game, but they really started to minimize her and more of a relief appearance. I think they're still trying to figure out their pitching, and then the pitching's not being able to throw strikes and giving up free bases. And I feel from the outside looking in, it kind of feels like a dumpster fire going on in there because their offense. You think about the offense they have and Taryn Kern, and I mean, it's just like Kyra Chan. I mean, it's just, you just look at it, and then the freshman Addison Shepard, like they have so much power and offensive capability that was able to kind of mask that pitching problems earlier in the season. And now it's just all coming to head. Hitting, slowing down, pitching, I don't think is getting better, which is a problem. Yeah. And I don't know if it's lack of consistency. I mean, they're not letting pitchers go very far. Alyssa Houston last year had a lot of problems with walks, and she's right back in that boat again.
Yeah. And like you're saying, the hitting can only mask it for so long because at some point the hitters are going to slow down naturally. And when they hit that slump, one, you don't want them all to hit this slump at the same time because then it's painful, right? And then two, like you really got to tighten up the issues on the field with the free passes, with the errors, like the lack of great defense. And that's something that Stanford has struggled with. But again, shout out to Notre Dame, who stepped up and did fantastic, took advantage of opportunities and just capitalized. And right now, if you're Stanford, like if I'm a hitter on the team, like it can't be the same people every time. It can't be Kyra Chan. It can't be Taryn Kern. You know, like you did see some other people step up, but it's got to be more. Mm-hmm. And you can't have the big players doing the big plays all the time in the circle or in the batter's box. Like it's got to be other people. And I think that's the unfortunate reality and the importance of depth.
Do you ever sense like when the offense is going so well, but the pitching's giving up so many runs, like the sense of frustration as a hitter, like what more can I do? Like if you start getting in that mindset, and then you're really going to slow down offensively. And I'm not saying that's where there are, but from experience, it's like we've been crushing the ball, but hey, 8 runs isn't enough. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah. And then you start making these excuses, and then it just kind of tumbles out of control from there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's also frustrating as a coach too, because you know it, whether you're the hitting coach or the pitching coach. You're sitting here like, I can't expect my hitters to do this every single game. Like, we're going to run into some really good arms. And if you're the hitter, yeah, maybe you think about that. But I also think that's a leadership thing. And I think the coaches probably feel the frustration as well. And again, rightfully so. But trying to navigate it and manage it is a whole different story too.
What would your practice look like if you were at Stanford this week?
Man, I am attacking the hack attack a lot just from a hitting perspective because I want to keep my hitters rolling. That's a good question though, because on the side of pitching, I'm like, you can't punish them really for bad performance in the middle of the season. Like I don't need them more tired.
Right. Like how much can you throw during the week?
Exactly. And I don't know, maybe I take some time almost like I know that when I was in a hitting slump, like I actually wasn't allowed to hit. They would be like, yeah, you're not allowed in the cage today. And you would think like growing up, I thought it was the opposite. Like, no, I'm actually sucking. I need to hit more. And they're like, no, actually you need to hit less right now because you're trying to do too much. And I always thought that was super interesting. And I carried that with me because when you are playing poorly, like what's the biggest, most important thing you want to do is practice. What's probably the least amount of things you need to do? Practice, right? Because you've been doing it, you know how to do it. It's just a matter of like, man, like, I really am mental right now. I really am overthinking it. So I almost think maybe time off could be more beneficial. It's crazy. It's an ass backwards concept.
But it worked for you pretty well. So if people listen up.
You figure it out, right?
I've got one other question for you, and this is from outside looking in. I'm obviously not in there, don't know the dynamic of how it works, but they have 3 All-American pitchers on staff with Danielle O'Toole, Jolene Henderson, and Sarah Groenwagen. And pitchers are struggling, and I think they have struggled more as the season has progressed. Like, is there too much information possibly going at these pitchers? Like, Danielle O'Toole is clearly the one that goes out and talks to the pitchers and calls the pitches, but like, could there be a situation where you have too many leaders in the pitching department trying to fix this and this and this instead of coming from one point person?
Could definitely be the case. And I think that's too where like the importance of having conversations to know who's saying what is crucial. And I think that it starts again at the top, like from a leadership and management perspective it's like information for hitters when they're hitting. Like there is a thing as too much information and overthinking and at bat. And you're almost trying to simplify. So again, I'm not a pitcher. You would know more as a catcher and how to manage that. But I definitely think it's possible. We don't know what's being said and what's going on from that perspective. But yeah, different philosophies can definitely clash as well if they have them. So what do you think? And what do you think about the practice too? Like what would practice look like this week?
We would be doing a lot of defense. We would be doing a lot of defense and situational defense, and have pitchers throw a couple live ABs, not overdo it, but like we've got to get them out of the bullpen onto the field, throwing to live hitters and proving you can throw strikes. And I'm going to put runners on first and second, bases loaded. I'm going to make my defense make plays, I think. But yeah, it just like game time stuff, because right now under the lights, things kind of fall apart. But yeah, I thought it was interesting when they had 3 pitchers on staff, how this would work out. Like, is it going to be freaking awesome or could this be too much? But again, we don't know really what's going on, but just trying to look for things.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about your Tar Heels and what they did this weekend. So they played Cal. They did win the series against Cal. They did also drop a game against Cal. Again, it's very hard to beat a team 3 times. This is the fastest that UNC has ever reached a 20-win season, or 20 wins to start their season, and the least amount of games. So really good stuff. We obviously know they've been playing well. I think the question is whether or not they're playing good quality. But nonetheless, they're taking care of business and on paper winning the games that mostly they should.
Yeah.
And, they split. They split the first 2.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice to go out there and get a sweep to kind of cement like, hey, we're a good team, especially with Cal going through the rebuild and new head coach and whole new team. I think they're up and to the right still with their offense. Emily Leggett, unbelievable. And I think Shelby Barbie behind her, they kind of have to try and pitch to her a little bit, but I still think I would avoid her at all costs. But what a season she's having. And the fact that we're not talking about Sanaa Thompson that much is like, a lot of people in this lineup can swing the bat. I'm still interested that, Kenna Ray's not throwing much at all, which is concerning because she was like the dog last year in the ACC tournament, like towards the end of the season. I mean, she had that competitive fire in her, which, you want somebody like that in the circle. And I'm sure they want her out there, but just something to note there. And they have Stanford this weekend. We can talk about it later, but there might be 100 runs scored in the series.
Between the 2, yeah. I don't disagree. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Emily Leggett. Her numbers are stupid right now, like in the best way. She's outpacing Kat Rodriguez. I was reading an article about like how at this point in the season, I think last year, Kat Rodriguez had like just over 40 RBI, and she ended up setting a single season record for UNC. And then right now, though, Leggett has 16 home runs, 51 RBI. And so what she's pacing is insane, just video game numbers.
And good thing for Megan Smith-Lyons, she doesn't have to worry about her hitting coach going anywhere because they're married. The hitting coach is going to be there for a while, and I don't see Megan ever leaving Carolina. Offensively, awesome. Still a lot of concerns in the circle as far as how deep they can go. But hey, they're winning the games they need to win, so that's good.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Noles. They beat South Alabama in the midweek, so you got to call that game. How was it being in Tallahassee?
Oh, it was
enjoy
awesome.
it?
It was awesome, and people were concerned. It was a late game. It was an 8:00 game on a Wednesday, it was Wednesday, and I think basketball was playing, and they're like, oh, nobody's going to show up this late on work night. No, people showed up. They were loud. They were proud. It was fun under the lights, the environment there, and they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah. They are. They play at a fast pace, too. It's just one of the things that I enjoy most, like just the quickness, pitch to pitch, inning to inning, like they don't waste time. Whereas some teams, it's like kind of slow, right? And like drawn out. And Florida State just plays at a pretty elite pace. So that was a big game, just to recap a little bit, not even like the game, like there's good history in the South Alabama series or just matchups that they've had against Florida State over the years. And in my opinion, it's one of the times, like the regional that was played back in 2013 against South Alabama at South Alabama was a turning point for the Florida State program under Coach Alameda and what she's been able to do. And it's just fun to look back at the history and see, like, I feel like that 2013 year was so pivotal in the success of Florida State. And it really started out in Mobile against South Alabama. I cannot say South Alabama to save my life right now. Good Lord. Isa Torres did lead off that game with a home run.
I'm going to get back to that because you brought this up and it was awesome. It was great stuff to know the history about Florida State, because in that 2013 Super, you were on that team, but you were hurt. And y'all are down to your last out, down 5-1, 2 outs, grand slam, tie it up, come back, win that series, and made your that was regionals, excuse me, and you made your first super regionals under Lonnie. And after that year, Florida State has made the supers every single year except for one, and since she's been here. So to say it's a turning point, from looking at it, but then on paper, totally backs it up, and that was really cool for you to bring up.
Yeah, I have chills just thinking about it. The excitement, momentum, everything that is like college softball postseason when your back's against the wall, like it doesn't get any better than that. So,
and Lonnie always says, you got to learn how to get there, and then you learn. That was when y'all learned how to get the supers.
Yeah,
the rest is
crazy.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But I was gonna say, just shout out on that game to Isa Torres, led it off with a home run against South Alabama, so that was big. And then I feel like just continued to keep pace for where she is and right now and the success she's had, but we will get into that in just a little bit. Florida State in the series against Syracuse did retire Lacey Waldrop's jersey this past weekend. It was alumni weekend. They were celebrating professional and international players. Super cool for people to get to go back and watch the team. I wasn't able to attend because I was calling games myself, but love to see it on social and just all the celebration and everybody coming together. So really good stuff. But let's talk. I don't even want to talk about Torres yet, if that's okay. I want to talk about Jason Beecham. She had a really good game on Sunday, game 3. She had 5 RBI. It tied her career best. This is a player that, again, National Freshman of the Year, was just fantastic freshman year. Sophomore year was hard. She struggled. But she was still good. She just struggled for, her standards, right? And what people had expected of her after having the freshman campaign that she did. So love to see her getting back going. Started a little slow this season, but has really picked up, has been fantastic in my opinion. You got anything on her or any other players right now for Florida State?
I think she did start off slow, but now that lineup's back to full strength. She was surrounded by a couple freshmen early in the season. I feel like there was some extra pressure there, especially with Isa Torres getting on base every single time. I'm the one that has to get her in, but now Kennedy Harp's back in the lineup. The freshmen have almost half a season under their belt. They've really stepped up, and I feel like she's just coming into her own right when it matters most. And defensively, I think Torres and Beecham, that left side of the infield, is the best left side of the infield in the country.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. It's good stuff. What they're able to do, they're quick, they're communicative, they're supportive of the pitchers. It's been fun to watch to the leadership. Isa Torres has been lights out. We'll talk more about her stats in a little bit when we give her a special shout out. But the fact that she's been 11 for 11 since returning, or she's 11 for 11 this week, I'm sorry. She's reached safely in her last 18 plate appearances and is putting up insane numbers since she came back from injury. Kind of suffered maybe a mild concussion in a game against Alabama a few weeks ago. Took about 8 games off and has been lights out ever since. It is insane what she's doing offensively.
And watching her in person, you get just a little more of what she's doing. Is she's not trying to do too much. She is so good with just putting the barrel to the ball, and she'll get fooled on a changeup, and by fooled I mean she's out in front, still barrel on it, but it's foul. If they try to go back to that changeup again, she's gonna hit it into a gap. She's so quick at learning from pitch to pitch. You can't double dip on her. You get her once, and I can get her again there. With that pitch, you can't. You have to have multiple ways of getting her out. You use that changeup to get 1 strike. Well, you're not going to get another strike on that changeup. What are you going to go to next? Because her hands are so quick. She gets her barrel on anything. And you're like, well, don't throw her in the zone. It doesn't matter if you don't throw her in the zone. She's just such a simple, and I mean this the best way possible, like a simple hitter. Like there's nothing that looks hard about her swing. You throw it 2 balls off, she can still find a way to get a barrel on it if it's inside or outside. But I just think the maturity from pitch to pitch, what I saw when they kind of got her on a changeup, and then a couple pitches later, like, hey, let's go back to that. And then she hits into the gap, was just kind of like, damn, that's great hitting.
It's fun to watch. I think right now, too, the question is whether or not the pitching is going to be strong enough and deep enough to get them where they want to go, like deep into postseason. I mean, we know that they've got some really good arms with Francic, some really good young talent, too, with Dimitrievich. And I just did that off the top of my head, too. Didn't even have to type it out. Like, that's pretty good. And some of the young pitchers that they have in the circle definitely have the potential to go deep. We'll see.
Yeah, I think they're in the same situation a lot of staffs are in right now. Is like, how are we going to fit these pieces together to work the best? Like who works best off of who? And I think also finding the strike zone is kind of an issue, but get that cleaned up, and then we all trust in Lonnie to put the pieces where they need it.
Should we get that on a shirt? In Lonnie we trust?
Yes, absolutely.
I think we should.
I would wear it.
That's too funny. So Florida State's looking pretty good right now. So let's just some special shout outs to Notre Dame. Ava Zachary was really good this past weekend. She's been on an 11-game hitting streak. She's been on an on-base streak for 12 games. Michaela Castor, Brianna Weiss, they combined for a complete game to clinch the series that they were able to win against Stanford. Only a couple of walks, 7 strikeouts, really good ratio. It doesn't always have to be the strikeouts, too. I just love the minimal walks. And I know I've, harped on that for the last couple of weeks. I will probably continue to harp on that. But I feel like Notre Dame's in a pretty good spot. So this was good stuff. I think it was one of their first ranked wins and ranked series wins in years.
Yeah.
Years.
And this is year 2 under Chris Ganiff, and I think she kind of went back to the drawing board and really invested in the young people on the team. Like, they know they're not going to make a deep run this year, but if we invest in the young people on this team and start making those changes now, like, this is a long-term plan. And I think they're seeing, the benefits from that with the young people stepping up, and I think they're on the right track for sure. That was a big series win.
Yeah, really good stuff. So we mentioned that they did retire Lacey Waldrop's jersey this past week in Tallahassee. Really cool stuff. Just exciting to see, I think, the game continue to grow, and these players that have been so good in programs getting acknowledged, all the things. There was another, I'm trying to find it real quick. Cassidy Curd for Stanford did hit her 33rd home run of her career, and that now put her in sole possession of 6th all-time in Stanford history. So as we go on the next couple of weeks, we'll see some of these athletes really, paving their way into the record books for their programs, especially the ones that are older. We saw with Deanna Jennings, Amina Vega at Duke the last couple of weeks. Cassidy Curd had her 500th strikeout. I did see some insane stat too. Like, I am going to mention real quick, Monica Abbott, and like how many strikeouts she had in her career. Was it like over 2,000?
Yeah, I think you're right. But
they
pitch every inning. They pitch every inning.
Well, exactly. I saw her record was like insane. No, it will never, because of where the game was at the time and how much she pitched. So I was like, is that real? So I like had to Google like her actual career stats, because I was like, that is weird. I haven't heard of that ever since I've been playing. Like, I look at the record books now, and it's like if a pitcher reaches 500 is great. If a pitcher reaches 1,000, it's almost unheard of at this point. Anyway, sorry, I had to say that, because I was like, what is that? Is that accurate? Standout performance of the week, I think, for both of us was Isa Torres. Like, we did talk a little bit about how she's been 11 for 11 recently, and just what she's done, I think, is absolutely insane. Just reached base in all 16 of her plate appearances last week. She did have 6 walks. You can talk more about her season numbers, and I'll get into just a little bit too, I think, about big picture of what she's been able to do, really set the tone at the top of the order. She has reached base safely in 60 of her 85 plate appearances this season. Like, I think that alone is absolutely insane. And then I'll let you get a little deeper into some of the other numbers and averages that she has, but she's the best hitter in the country, period.
100%. And if you need more proof, let's look at the numbers. Bat on the season, 648. She has 4 home runs, 16 extra base hits, 11 walks, and just 5 strikeouts. Like, she had 5 strikeouts on the season last year, And she's continuing that trend of not striking out. Like we mentioned it, like you can't get her out by throwing it off the plate. Because she'll take a walk. She is getting a hit almost 7 out of 10 times. And in our sport's supposed to be flipped. Like you're supposed to get out 7 out of 10 times, where she's the complete opposite. It's just, we're watching. I mean, she could go down, better than I do. And I don't want to put this on her, but maybe the best hitter in Florida State history.
Yeah. I definitely think so, especially if she keeps pacing where she's pacing. But give or take a little bit too. Like, I mean, it is absolutely, she will have one of the best seasons in program history. So insane what she's been able to do. Love it. So much fun to watch. Such a good kid. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned good kid, but like, absolutely. Like she just has this joy that just comes off of her. And she's just like, she hits that home run against South Alabama. And I can tell like she just can't wait to get back to her teammates. Like she doesn't want to be alone jogging the bases on a home run. She just wants to go hug her teammates. And I mean, to have somebody that's that good and that good of a person, like she does it all. Love it for her.
Yeah. And it's national storylines this week. Texas Tech was supposed to travel to Tallahassee. They could not make the trip, unfortunately. They were supposed to have a midweek against Stetson, which is here in Central Florida. And then they were supposed to play Florida State on the midweek on Wednesday. And then they were playing UCF this weekend for the series. But they couldn't make it. Travel conflicts, canceled flights, bad weather, all the things. We've seen it across the country. You, unfortunately, had it happen as well for your travel and the games you were calling. But yeah, I think part of the joke was, is Texas Tech scared or what? No, but... No, I don't know. What do you think?
I hate it. I hate it for the sport. Like this was the matchup that we've had circled, and we saw them at Clearwater. Florida State was 3 inches from walking it off, loses that game. And it's like, all right, how much closer has Florida State closed that gap? Like how close are they now? Like this was going to be that perfect midseason test to see where they were at. And just as a fan and people that love softball, Mother Nature really took this one away from us, and it stinks, but maybe we'll see it again, but can't do anything about it. I hate it though.
Control the controllables. Yeah. And then down goes number 1. So Tennessee got their first loss last weekend. They lost to Mississippi State. My good friend was on the call. So much fun. How was the call? How was it getting that game?
It was incredible. It was like we've talked about like how many home runs are hit, how many walks, like these long games. It was a legit pitcher's duel for 3 games, a walk-off or go-ahead hit in the home run in the 9th inning, game 1, then a walk-off and 1-0 game in game 2. I mean, these games were like an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, pitchers just hammering the strike zone. And then Carlin Pickens comes back on Sunday. If anybody's concerned if she's injured or not, she was throwing 75. She hit 76. Like, she's good to go. I can promise you that. I think Mississippi State did a good job or helped her out a little bit chasing out of the zone. But I think it's a testament to Tennessee, too. They lose a game and they're still number 1. And I don't disagree with that one bit. I think they're a great team. We don't have any undefeated teams anymore. Alabama dropped 1 to Arkansas. Grand Canyon just dropped 1 to Oklahoma State. So no more undefeated. Everybody's got a loss on their resume.
Yeah, it's hard. Winning is hard.
Mm-hmm.
So just continues to reiterate that. But all right, my favorite segment of the show, I'm not going to speak for you, but BS or no BS. We got, I feel like, some good ones this week. So
all right, Alex, BS or no BS, things that I've heard, seen, made up in my head. First one, BS or no BS, courtesy runners in travel ball are hindering athletes once they get to college.
I'll say no BS on that one. So I think that one of the things that really sets great teams apart is how aggressive they are on the basis and how well they do the small things right. And I think that courtesy runners give athletes an out to have to run when they're younger, and then they get to college and you don't get courtesy runners like that. You have to, sub them out, and there's a disconnect. And I think in general, there's a disconnect for freshmen coming into college, let alone people that didn't really even do it at a young age. So I know that base running was one of the things I had to work at the hardest once I got to college and was healthy and stuff. It was hard. It was very intricate, reading plays and all the things.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think it does a disservice to the player. Like, I know they have these time windows and they want to hurry up, but you're also telling players, not just the one you're running for, that base running is not that important. Like, come on, you're just running the bases. But if you want to be a high level softball player, you have have to know how to read balls, run bases, take extra base hits. It's all about softball IQ. And I think the extra, 30 seconds you might have to wait while somebody else is warming up the pitcher for the catcher to get their gear on is not worth it to the detriment of learning the game and being able to compete at the next level at a high level.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Next one, BS or no BS. This is something that I saw live, saw on Twitter, a lot of conversation about. Waving at a batter after a strikeout is super swaggy and cool.
I'm going to say BS on this one. I think of all the great athletes across all sports. I think the thing they didn't have to do was flaunt it when they were playing well. Like, there's one thing in the moment, like to just appreciate like a home run or something, right? Like to just like for 1 second, but you're never like disrespectful to the other team. Like if you're pimping a home run swing, like it's kind of selfishly more about you or your team. Like you're looking into your own dugout. You're never like looking at the pitcher and pointing and like doing something just like super embarrassing. So yeah, I'm going to say BS because like to me, a celebration should be more about you in the moment with your teammates, never about the other team or another player.
100% agree. And this is something that I've had to come a long way up with the celebrations and the emotions now that we see in softball. I talked to Karen Weekly before the series this weekend, and that's something that she's had to evolve as a coach too. Like, let your players have fun. Like they want to have fun. And just because they're celebrating it doesn't mean that they think they've accomplished what they want to accomplish. And she had to learn that. And she said, though, we can celebrate, we can have fun, but it'll never be about anybody else but our team. Celebrate your team, your success with your team. I will not stand by going after the other team after you strike them out or record an out. I don't like it. I don't like it. I agree with you.
And the one instance, and we won't sit here and like talk names and stuff, but like the one instance that I think we saw it happen, I don't even think the team had won a conference game at that point. So it was almost like, what are you waving at? Like, how about you just get your ass in the dugout and go worry about winning a game? Because like you haven't done that yet in conference play. I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
And you see the big celebrations. Oklahoma started it. Maybe they didn't start it, but they were the most visible, with the walk and celebrating a walk. But they're always looking in their dugout. Like they have this tunnel vision to their team. It's all about their team. And I'm not sure if these young kids that see that understand like what's happening and try to emulate that and kind of capture that energy, but they're doing it in the wrong way. But to me, that's if they don't understand it and they're trying to emulate something, somebody at the top needs to, hey, let's have a conversation.
That's not how we do it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on. BS or no BS. Upsets in the ACC are coined as that team's just overrated. But when we see upsets in the SEC, man, that conference is deep.
I'm going to agree with your statement, and I think it's BS. So I think that we discredit teams in the ACC when they get upset on paper. Like Virginia Tech, like, you're almost like discrediting Virginia Tech's talent and just saying like, hey, Duke's a really good team. And I think that we need to do that more. Like, I think that we need to say, hey, Duke is just really good. They should have won that game because they played better. But it's not a knock at Virginia Tech. It's everybody's so quick because of the SEC and the standard that they've had for so long. Everybody is so quick. Like if Ole Miss takes a game from Tennessee, it's not like, oh, Tennessee's not the number one team. It's like, oh, wow, Ole Miss is really good too. Like, holy cow, they played really well. So I think that that's, a reputation thing that the conference as a whole needs to just continue to work at. I think they've done a great job. I think that they've really figured it out in scheduling difficultly in the beginning parts of season. And so just trying to keep that streak alive.
Yeah. ACC doesn't get the benefit of the doubt for sure. And I think, history-wise, they haven't scheduled the hard out-of-conference games, but we've seen that, like you mentioned, that out-of-conference are definitely playing a better schedule. Like, hey, so when we get into conference and beat up each other, we get the benefit of the doubt now more often than not. But that's just something that I think needs to continue to improve on and build on. And I think coaches know that. But I think that narrative is just really easy to say now. Like, oh, the SEC is so deep, they're just going to go beat up on each other and they're going to have these bad records at the end of the year because they just beat up on each other. Whereas the ACC, they're just not good because they're losing to teams on paper they shouldn't. So I think we could be part of that narrative, and they've got to do their part too. And I think we're working there.
Agree. We're almost there. So most excited to watch this week. I think there's a couple of good series that are coming up with Stanford at UNC and then Duke at Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
You feeling good about those? You excited for those?
I'm excited for both of them. Yes. Over under, Alex. Oh, actually, I'm gonna give you. Who do you have Stanford at UNC first?
Okay. Should have been prepared for that because I should have known it was coming. I think that. Ah, man, I'm always struggling with these. Good things that'll speed me up a little.
It's a good thing.
It is. I think that Stanford should win. I just think they haven't been playing well. So I'm scared that even though they've been good up to this point, and last week was a little shaky, like I think that UNC could win too. I think it'll be the closest series we've had. I definitely don't think anybody's sweeping. I'm just concerned. I think UNC will win the series. I'm going to say that. I think Stanford pitching is struggling a little too much. I think it will be a very high-scoring game, though, like you said.
I think I might shock you that I think UNC is going to win the series, too.
Okay.
Especially as high as I was on Stanford earlier and always just holding UNC to a different standard than I do most teams. I think UNC is going to take 2 of 3. They're playing at home. And if Stanford's going to walk the bases loaded, they're going to pay with 4 runs more often than not with the way UNC is swinging back. So, yeah, I'm even a little shocked with myself with that. If you would have listened to me talk about Stanford 4 weeks ago, they were the greatest team on the planet. But, we watched, we learned. But my other question for you is over, under, let's go 80 runs scored total in 3 games.
Jeez. I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to go under because my line per game was actually going to be 18. So I'm going to go under, but I think it's going to be over 70. Yeah.
Over 70 runs? Okay.
Or hold on. No, I need to do the math. That's not right. Let me do the math real quick. Hold on. The math ain't mathin'. So 18 times 3 is, 50. So over 50 runs.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let's do that. Over, under 50.
I'm going to go over.
Over? That's a lot.
Because my line is 18 runs. Yeah. What's yours?
I'm going to go
70.
well over 50, I think.
Okay.
I think it's
well over. You think over 60? You think over 20 runs a game?
I just look back to that Virginia game when they combined for 30 runs, over 30 runs in that game. I think it's going to be kind of insane. But who knows? We'll see. They got to play it. But there's going to be a lot of runs. So I feel
where did I get 70? Like, the math ain't math in there for me. That's okay.
I don't know. I think I said 72 when I was trying to multiply 18 times 3. So let's not go there anymore. All right. Who you got? Duke at Georgia Tech.
I'm going to go Duke. Do you think, you know what? I'm going to go Duke is sweeping, which I can't even believe I'm saying that. I think that Duke is hungry right now. So we'll see.
I think Duke will take the series. I think Georgia Tech finds a way to take one like they have the past couple of weekends against Virginia and Clemson at their places. So being at home, I think Duke's offense is clicking on all cylinders right now. And then Georgia Tech has that one ace that they picked up, Madeline. So, yeah, I think Duke takes the series. I think it's going to be really competitive. This could be a lot of speed and offense, taking extra bases. So if you need to learn some base running, I would suggest watching this series.
Agree. Cool. Well, as always, thanks for watching episode 7. And it has been so much fun. We will see you next week. And hopefully the ACC continues to kick ass and do all the things well. So as always, leave us any comments or questions as to things that you would want to know or see different. And thanks for watching.
See ya.